Yesterday, Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen flew to El Salvador to try to bring a prisoner back to the United States. The prisoner, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was deported by the Trump administration after 2 judges affirmed that he was a member of the notorious gang MS-13. Here is what Senator Van Hollen had to say from El Salvador.
I also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here. So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he was not able to make that happen. He said he needed a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that. He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. We have an unjust situation here.
I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to the guy that 2 judges said is a member of MS-13. Why won't you let me even just get on the phone with him? Unjust? We have an unjust situation. Some of Garcia's defenders are claiming that he was not a member of MS-13. They're claiming that the judge's affirmations that he were based on unproven evidence, that Garcia was only coincidentally arrested wearing MS-13 clothing, that he only coincidentally had rolls of cash and drugs on him, that he was just coincidentally arrested with 2 other members of MS-13. Fine. You know what? Fine. Whatever. Let's just say, for kicks, that this guy is not a member of MS-13. What remains undisputed, we're talking best case scenario for this guy's defenders, is that he is an illegal alien with no right whatsoever to be in the United States, whose wife in 2021 petitioned a court for an order of protection over 2 incidents of domestic violence. That is the guy that the Democrat junior senator from Maryland spent his day and your taxpayer dollars flying to El Salvador to defend. Sometimes I give romantic advice on this show. I have some right now. Ladies, you need to find yourself a man who loves you like Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen loves a wife-beating illegal alien with court-affirmed ties to a satanic terrorist organization. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Huge news out of the UK Supreme Court. Major ruling that affirms what statistically every single person has known for all of human history about men and about women. We will get to that momentarily. First, though, speaking of knowledge, I want to talk to you about one of my very favorite institutions of higher learning in the country, Hillsdale College. Go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles. History, economics, classical literature, constitutional interpretation. Did your education cover these foundations? Probably not, if you've been educated in the last 40 years. So, while our world constantly evolves through time and technology, certain fundamental truths about humanity and our place in the universe remain unchanged. That is why I'm excited that Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses in the most important and enduring subjects. Learn about the works of C.S. Lewis, the stories in the book of Genesis, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, and the history of the ancient church with Hillsdale College's free online courses. I personally recommend Hillsdale's course Theology 101, the Western Theological Tradition. This course examines the great questions of Western theology from the ancient Hebrews through today. Learn about the nature of God as revealed in the Bible, explore the great theological questions and controversies of the early church, study this history and the history of the Reformation, of the Counter-Reformation, of so much more. Hillsdale makes it so simple to increase knowledge and curiosity. The course is self-paced so that you can start whenever and wherever. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S. It's free. It's easy to get started. hillsdale.edu/Knowles, hillsdale.edu/Knowles. This flight to El Salvador from the Maryland Democrat Senator, Chris Van Hollen, was already a disastrous move. It just looked terrible. Democrats cannot win for losing. I mean, they have not learned a single lesson, it seems, from the 2024 election. Already, had the Republicans not reacted at all, this would have been a disaster. Because you got ordinary Americans looking up saying, look, even if this guy Garcia wasn't in MS-13, and by the way, there's a fair bit of evidence that he is, but let's just say that he wasn't. You telling me the Democrat senator is spending his time and our money flying to El Salvador to get an illegal alien accused by his wife of domestic violence out of prison? Aren't there a few other things you might focus on, Senator? Like our economy, our border, geopolitics, the potential for regional or global war, anything at all? But no, this guy, Chris Van Hollen, this Democrat senator, he's got an obsession with going soft on illegal alien criminals, specifically criminals. They're all criminals, but I'm talking about people who have committed crimes in addition to breaking our fundamental laws of the border. Because this guy, Chris Van Hollen, is among the handful of insane people to vote against the Laken Riley Act. You know, the Laken Riley Act is the first bill that the new Congress took up. And the Laken Riley Act said illegal aliens who are convicted of crimes in addition to crossing the border illegally have to be deported. And the reason it's called the Laken Riley Act is because the illegal alien who murdered Laken Riley had already been convicted of crimes. And the liberals in this country said, no worries. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe these illegal aliens are committing other crimes. They're creating social disorder. They're harming people. But whatever, we're going to let them stay. And then case after case, you're seeing illegal aliens, American citizens, murdering American citizens. And so as far as I'm concerned, the Laken Riley Act is as modest, as minor a measure as there can be against illegal immigration. Saying, okay, we'll let you come into the country illegally. We won't even harass you when you're in the country illegally. But if you start stealing and robbing and harassing people, then we might start to enforce immigration law. Chris Van Hollen can't vote for that. This guy loves criminal aliens marauding all over our country and injuring and murdering American citizens. I don't think that's hyperbole. I don't know how else I can put it. That this guy would spend his day going down pleading on behalf of an illegal alien criminal after voting against a law that would provide basic protections for poor little American girls not to be raped and murdered. How else do you describe it? So it was already a bad day for Chris Van Hollen. Then the White House decided to throw the issue into really stark relief by inviting one of Van Hollen's constituents, Patty Morin, to come to the White House, because Patty Morin has a daughter, or had a daughter, Rachel Morin, who was murdered by an illegal alien. This was really what should be the knockout blow to Chris Van Hollen's political career. This guy should go, work as a teller at a bank or a barista or just anything out of public life, because the guy just looks preposterous, degenerate. He just looks awful after this story. And what was the story? The story is the truth of what illegal immigration looks like in America.
You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. He attacked her. I
want you to put a pause right here, because this is a children's show. Well, it's not a children's show, but it's a whole family show. I would just say for the next 60 seconds or so, if you're watching this with your kids or listening to this with your kids, put it on mute or put the subtitles on or something like that, because the reality of what illegal immigration means in America is not fit for children. Keep going.
dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. Blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country.
That's it. A horrifying story. If you're watching with your kids, you can turn the sound back on now. Horrifying story. And not a particularly rare story. Okay, you know the proof? You know the proof that this is not just cherry picking the one case out of a billion? Well, one, things like the Lake and Riley Act, all of the names that we've heard of American citizens who've been victimized in this way by illegal aliens. None of those crimes had to happen. They only happened because Democrats rolled out the red carpet to invite the illegal aliens in. Every single crime that an illegal alien commits in this country was a needless crime. And there is blood on the hands of the cynical Democrat politicians and some of the Chamber of Commerce Republicans who felt that they could get an extra vote or make an extra buck because of it. And if some Americans have to be murdered, so be it. But the way you know that this is not just some totally rare case, and actually virtually all of the illegal aliens are just wonderful, law-abiding people, residents, as American as apple pie. The way you know is that the Democrats have had 10 years now to find a shining example of an illegal alien to use as the foil to Trump's description of illegal aliens, to use as the example to undermine Trump's immigration policies. They've had 10 years to do this. The best example they can come up with, the one that's going to get them to get on an airplane and fly to El Salvador, put on big press conferences. This guy is the poster child for how wonderful illegal immigration is to America. The best example they've got is a guy who was affirmed to be a member of MS-13 by 2 judges, whose wife accused him of beating her and asked for a court order of protection, and who was obviously in this country illegally. That's the best example. Wife beating probable gang member. So don't tell me this is just a rare case. Oh, this is the example that proves the rule that the illegal aliens are all great. You're hearing these stories time and time again. And the Democrats, they can't help themselves. They got to defend it. What votes do they think they're going to win here? Trump ran in 2024 on mass deportations, not even minor deportations. He ran on mass deportations. He won the popular vote. So please, Democrats, please make Eric, whatever his name is. What's this guy's name? Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Please make him your poster child. Run on that in the midterms. Run on that in the presidential. Run on that for the next 20 years. See how that works out for you. This woman, this very courageous woman, Patty Morin, she describes the awful stuff that happened to her daughter. She describes the reality of illegal immigration. But she doesn't just leave it in the abstract. She points out that people, Democrat senators like Chris Van Hollen, have their priorities so screwed up, it's almost incomprehensible.
To have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this.
This was one of the most effective political press conferences I have ever seen in my life, and I'm talking about press conferences even before I was born, okay, that we have on video. This was so politically effective at making this Democrat senator look terrible, at making all the Democrats look terrible, at making the Trump policy look appropriate and right. And you know why it was so effective? Because all this woman did was tell the truth. That's what was so effective. The truth of this situation is completely devastating for the Democrat position. It completely vindicates the Trump position. Democrats want to keep this up. Good luck. You're never going to win an office again. Now, speaking of the innocent, speaking of right and wrong, I want to tell you about Preborn. Go to preborn.com/Knowles. During this holy season, I would like to take a moment to think about something amazing, and that is you. Psalms tells us that God carefully knit you together in your mother's womb. He saw who you were meant to be before you even existed. At Preborn Ministries, they believe each person is made in God's image and that all life is sacred and eternal. Maybe not all pregnancies are planned. That's okay. Whether planned or not, all life has value, and God has a purpose for everyone each day that they're here. Today, I invite you to thank God for the gift of life and to remember the babies still in their mother's wombs. Their lives matter too. Last year alone, Preborn's network of clinics helped save over 67,000 babies from abortion. Your tax-deductible donation of $28 sponsors one ultrasound, which doubles a baby's chance at life. When a woman sees her baby on an ultrasound, she becomes 100% more likely to preserve her baby's life. How many lives can you help save today? To donate, just dial pound 250, say keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Knowles. To make a donation, I strongly encourage you to give what you can, whatever it is. I don't care if it's $2, whatever you can, go to preborn.com/Knowles. Thank you for supporting this life-saving work. Folks, today is Maundy Thursday. Maundy Thursday, sometimes called Holy Thursday. Tomorrow is Good Friday. Following day will be Holy Saturday. The following day will be Easter Sunday. This is your last chance today. You have your last chance to order the Smells and Bells candle, my absolute favorite candle at thecandleclub.com. It will make your home smell like a 12th century monastery. Perfect for Holy Week, for Easter Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a wonderful way to get into this new liturgical season. Thecandleclub.com. Chris Van Hollen was not the only Democrat having a bad day yesterday. You know who else was having a bad day? The Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. Letitia James, you'll recall, is this loudmouth politician. She's supposed to be the top law enforcement officer in New York, but she actually campaigned for the office, not on blind lady justice, not on, just enforcing the law as cases appear to her. She ran on putting Trump in jail. She said, we're going to prosecute Trump. We're going to imprison Donald Trump because we don't like him, basically. And she led one of the witch hunts against Donald Trump. Didn't go very far. And actually then Trump won not only the election in a landslide, but popular vote, in part because of the un-American prosecutions against Trump. But now, Letitia James finds herself on the wrong side of the law. The Department of Justice is investigating her. She has been referred for prosecution over mortgage fraud. Letitia James. Oh man, I got to try to minimize the smile on my face. I don't want to be accused of schadenfreude. Letitia James seems to have said that her primary residence was in Virginia. She owns some properties in New York, in Virginia. She said that this Virginia property was her primary residence. Obviously, it's not. She's the Attorney General of New York. Her neighbors in Virginia never see her there. But according to Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Pult, Ms. James was the sitting Attorney General of New York and is required by law to have her primary residence in the state of New York, even though her mortgage applications list her intent to have the Norfolk, Virginia property as her primary home. Now, why? Was this just a clerical error? Oh, oopsie. Yeah, I forgot I was the Attorney General of New York. Yeah, whoops. No. By listing the Virginia home as her primary residence, she could get more favorable mortgage terms. It wasn't just in Virginia. Also in New York, Letitia James is accused of misrepresenting the number of apartment units in a building that she owns. She said that there are only 4 units in the apartment building instead of 5. Now, again, is this just a clerical error? I'm sure that's what Letitia James is going to try to claim. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I forgot the number of apartments in my building. It's not the sort of thing one forgets, especially we're not talking about 300 units. We're talking about 4 or 5. The reason is that on these mortgage applications, if you have 4 or fewer units in New York, it can be a kind of a personal mortgage. If it's 5 or more, it's got to be a commercial mortgage. And so you could get a more favorable rate if you say it's personal. So you get a more favorable rate if you lie, as she did, and commit mortgage fraud, as she is accused of doing, and say it's fewer apartments. According to Polt, this could amount to criminal charges, including wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, false statements to a financial institution, and other charges. Now, I'd just like to take a little trip back in time, if you would indulge me. I'd like to get in our little time machine here on the Michael Knowles Show and take a trip back to what Letitia James had to say when she was leading a bogus crusade to prosecute Donald Trump.
Good morning, everyone. Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. Last week, we proved that in our motion for summary judgment. Today, we will prove our other claims. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it.
No one is above the law. You know, Mr. President, it pains me more than it pains you to have to prosecute you. But Lady Justice is blind. I have taken an oath to defend the law, which is why I will upend 250 years of American precedent and lead a prosecution of a former president and current leader of the opposition, not because it will benefit my political party. Oh, no. No, you see. Lady Justice is blind, and I must prosecute you if I feel that you have committed fraud. So now, you see, Letitia James is much more credibly accused of fraud. The Trump claims, we covered them at the time. The claims about Trump were pretty weak, like one document. He's kind of maybe estimating the value on one of his buildings, and people disagree with the value of the building. And then in this case, the prosecutors and the judges kind of make bogus valuations of the property. And so it's all very nebulous. In this case, though, Letitia James is accused of just lying about the number of apartment units she owns. She's just lying about her primary residence. Okay, this is much more clear cut. So now when the shoe is on the other foot, does Letitia James take that sort of high-minded, detached, Lady Justice is blind rhetoric? No, she shows up to Al Sharpton's shakedown organization, the National Action Network, and she goes on this unhinged tirade.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University. That overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught.
She overturned segregation?
I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2. Until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on, ladies, it's up to us. We saved this democracy before, we'll save it now. Let's go.
It's just the meme. There's this great meme of me while I am sewing. I just think, yeah, this is great. I'm sewing. Oh, this is really fun. Oh, I love sewing. But then me while I'm reaping what I have sown. No, what is happening? Why is this happening to me? That's her. Well, she is perverting the law to upend 250 years of precedent, to go after a president of the United States, upending the whole political order. Oh, this is just the law. No one's above the law. And, it pains me to do it, but Lady Justice is blind, and this is just what we have to do. There's no question about it. Then when that same principle is used much more credibly against her, bah! We coming, you ain't doing that to me. I overturned segregation. We're getting you, baby. I'm coming. We're gonna. What happened to that sort of poised, calm, indifferent, articulate speech you were making on the importance of blind justice? Hold on, that seems to have gone completely out the window. As has this woman's reason, as has her self-control, because she knows. Again, it's all allegations until it's not. But my read on this, just knowing a little bit about human nature, is I think they got this woman dead to rights, and I think it's very important. By the way, you're going to have some squishy Republicans say we should not go after our political enemies. That would make us no different from the left. It would be irresponsible for conservatives not to prosecute at least the most egregious and clear cases of Democrat crime and fraud and corruption. It would be irresponsible because it gives them a blank check to do it again against us, which is bad for the whole political order. They tried to imprison President Trump over nonsense, totally upending our political order. They raided his home. They tried to kick him off the ballot. They justified murdering him. They almost murdered him twice, one time within a hair's breadth. I am not afraid of what the Democrats might hypothetically do to us in the future. They have already done much more than that to us in reality, with much less justification. If you believe the thing that Letitia James pretended to believe in that first clip when she was going after Trump, that justice is blind and no one's above the law, you must support the federal government's investigation and presumable prosecution of Letitia James for what appears to be pretty basic corruption from a politician that we already all suspected was corrupt. Now, done talking about that, I want to talk to you about Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. As Doge continues to cut the fat from decades of bloated government spending and corruption, Pure Talk, the cell phone company that I use all the time, love it, got it in my house every single day, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. That's right. Pure Talk says, I don't think so, to $100 a month cell phone plans. That is just wasteful. It's irresponsible. Instead, they're offering America's most dependable 5G network at America's most sensible prices. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, very, very difficult to use 15 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot for just $35 a month. Best part, right now you will get a free 1-year membership to DailyWire Plus. That includes access to the entire library of Daily Wire Plus movies and documentaries, uncensored ad-free daily shows, Daily Wire Kids programming, and as always, your free Leftist Tears Tumblr. And with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. You do not need Doge to cut the fat from your wireless bill. You need Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles, puretalk.com/Knowles. Get a year of Daily Wire Plus for free with a qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans. On top of all that, on top of Chris Van Hollen blowing up his political career, on top of Letitia James potentially putting on an orange jumpsuit, on top of all of that, President Trump might actually destroy Harvard University. Wow. How is he going to do this? We floated the story a little bit yesterday. Now it's become clearer. Trump threatened Harvard, said, hey, Harvard, if you don't protect the civil rights of your students, in particular Jewish students here after the campus intifada was harassing all of them, if you don't protect their civil rights, we're going to withhold grants from you, $2 billion worth of grants, and we might even look into your tax-exempt status that you rely on to operate. Well, now, news broke yesterday, the IRS is making plans to rescind the tax-exempt status of Harvard. This is according to two sources familiar with the matter. This would be an extraordinary step, of course, but we're living in extraordinary times. Final decision is expected soon. So I got one question for all of you conservatives out there. And I'm talking about even the centrists. I'm talking about even the anti-Trump conservatives, all the really nice, fancy Beltway conservatives who are above it all. I'm talking about even the conservatives that hated Trump so much they started voting for Democrats. You know, the Bulwark or the Dispatch or those guys. My question is totally sincere. I'm not just taking cheap shots. Did you really mean it when you said for decades that we need to take down the elite liberal universities? Did you really mean it? Because I've been hearing this since I was a little kid. At the very least, I've been hearing this. I know conservatives have been saying this since I was a little kid. I can consciously remember hearing this when I was a student. And all of these people were, even the most urbane, even the most established kind of conservatives, they would say, you know, the real poison in our culture are these elite liberal universities. We have to take them down a notch. It's crucial. We've got tenured radicals here, and they all agreed on that. So let me ask you, did you really mean it? If you really meant it, then revoking Harvard's tax-exempt status for violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act is actually pretty modest. I know it's unprecedented, but it's actually pretty modest. Trump could go full Henry VIII and just steal the endowment. Just like Henry VIII took all of the Catholic monasteries and churches, Trump could go in and say, hey, Harvard, you've got a $50 billion plus endowment. That's mine now. There have been senators who have threatened to put their hands on the endowments, including Democrat senators, by the way. Sheldon Whitehouse was threatening the university endowments, which actually impelled the universities to get a little looser with financial aid. So I just got to ask you, I know there are going to be some people who find all the reasons to oppose this. Well, it's a threat to free speech. Well, is it? Sort of, maybe. I don't know that it really is. Civil rights law is the law of the land. It has governed us for 60 years. It's used to defend all sorts of other groups. We can't use it. What, you don't like Jews so much, so we can't use it to defend Jews? Even if you don't like Jews, we can't use it to take down Harvard? There are going to be a lot of excuses in the coming days and weeks as to why the real, true, principled conservative position is to defend Harvard University or something, one of the great sources of elite liberalism in American history. Well, I've had a two-word slogan that's been drilled into me for many years at this point. Harvard sucks. Go Trump. Go Trump is my two-word slogan that I've added to that. If you really believe it, if you really believe we need a fundamental reform of the universities, especially the elite ones, the prestigious ones, this looks like the opportunity to do it. So how are the Democrats going to respond? Brutal day yesterday for Democrats. How are they going to respond? I can't say without laughing. The way they're going to respond to getting completely annihilated for the past 6 months by Republicans is that the DNC vice chairman is promising to spend $20 million campaigning against Democrats. I am not joking, because the Democrat vice chairman, as you might recall, is David Hogg. David Hogg, maybe the least popular Democrat in America. He may have been supplanted yesterday by Chris Van Hollen, but at least the second least popular Democrat in America. He's that kid who decided to take 15 minutes of fame after he was a student at a school that had a shooting, and he decided that he was going to translate that into a CNN career. And then he got into Harvard. Actually, Harvard gave him admission, even though his ability to spell and use English grammar on social media seems to suggest maybe he wasn't totally academically qualified for Harvard, but shows you where Harvard's priorities are at. They said, we got an 18-year-old Democrat leftist celebrity. We got to get him in our rotation. So this guy, he gets a career out of it. You got to give him credit. He's now the vice chairman of the Democrats, and he has said that he wants to spend $20 million primarying ineffective Democrats. Now, the national parties, as a general rule, do not officially interfere in primaries. Maybe they have their preferences, but as a rule, they don't interfere in the primaries. They let their members choose who the nominee is going to be, and then the DNC comes in there to help the nominees beat the Republicans. David Hogg says no. Now, because the National Party doesn't do that kind of thing, he is going to simultaneously, while being the DNC vice chairman, he's going to use another group that he has, Leaders We Deserve, to spend $20 million in safe blue Democrat primaries against sitting House members, specifically to support younger opponents. So it's not even necessarily that they're going to support more leftist opponents, though they almost certainly will, but it's even just age discrimination. It's basic old people bad, young people good. So this unprecedented move is coming from the upper echelons of the DNC. The DNC chairman, Ken Martin, was asked if he supports this. And David Hogg came in and said, well, Martin, quote, certainly has different views on challenging incumbents. So you got the DNC chairman, the DNC vice chairman, both fighting over the DNC vice chairman's decision to spend tens of millions of dollars in an already somewhat difficult cycle after the Democrats have just lost the popular vote at the presidential for the first time in 20 years. They're having this big battle because the vice chairman wants to spend his time and money campaigning against Democrats. My analysis of this situation is, it's so, I'm sorry, pull it together. It's so powerfully stupid of the Democrats that they say, boy, we really seem to have lost the common sense, huh? Yikes. Lost 46% of Hispanics, 40% of women under 30, 1 in 5 black guys. Man, this is really bad. I know what we'll do. We will defend wife-beating who are probably members of MS-13. We'll fly to El Salvador to do it. We'll forget about our own constituents whose daughters and family members have been the victims of illegal aliens. And then we'll spend $20 million primarying the even slightly sensible Democrats. Man, where can I invest in the Republican Party? I'm sure there are markets for this. In my mind, at least, the betting odds on the Republicans have gone way, way up in the last 24 hours. Now, if you're listening to the show anywhere but the Daily Wire Plus app or dailywire.com, first, thank you. Thanks for listening at all. I always say you don't even have to listen. Just download it and I'll get the ratings. But the second bit is some bad news for you. You're not getting the full uncensored version of the show. Welcome to the world of big tech, where some truths cannot be uttered. Some opinions are not allowed. Become a Daily Wire Plus member and watch the show the way it was meant to be, uncensored, unfiltered, and ad-free. Head to dailywire.com/subscribe and join now. My favorite comment yesterday is from DeShafe47, who says, he's not an alleged killer, Michael. This is, I assume, referring to the alleged killer of Austin Metcalf. He says, he's not an alleged killer, Michael. He told the cops he did it. Yeah, sure. I actually didn't even know that he confessed, but even if he did, one still has to use the word alleged until he's convicted. It's a little quirk of both journalism and our justice system. Even if a guy confesses, they could throw out the confession. It could be a false confession. So you have to say alleged, even if you have it on video, guy doing it. You have to say it, but you can say it with a sigh and a wink and a nod. Speaking of the left in turmoil, that's true not only in America, but all around the world. The UK Supreme Court yesterday just issued a very powerful ruling. It's actually an indictment of our civilization that we need such a ruling. But, okay, I'd rather have it than not have it. The UK Supreme Court has ruled that men cannot actually be women. And it is a big deal. I don't mean just to mock it. It is a big deal. Silly, but it is a big deal. The unanimous decision of this court, writes the Supreme Court, is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to biological women and biological sex. That's according to the court's deputy president, Lord Hodge. The court decision came about, as you might infer, from this act to protect sex and gender and blah, blah, blah. And the court rules, you can't. There's no such thing as a gender identity that is distinct from and contrary to biological sex. There are no legal protections for any such thing. Men are men and women are women, and men can't become women. The trans thing is over. It's over. You heard it here first. Maybe not first, but you heard it here early at least. And you heard it from the guy who a couple years ago called on a national stage for transgenderism to be from public life entirely, the whole ideology. Not to say that someone can't be confused in his own bedroom, but from public life, we got to get rid of this thing. It's ridiculous. Well, here we go. 2 years later, it's over. It's over. Transgenderism is the new law. I should be more specific. The trans-affirming surgeries and procedures, it's the new law. It's going to be a punchline in 50 years, if not sooner. We need to keep pushing, obviously. We need to make sure that all of the last vestiges of this preposterous and harmful ideology are eradicated from public life. But the beginning of the end is upon us. It's done. It was a weird fever dream we had. Weird fads take over cultures pretty regularly, and this was just the one of the last 10 years. But it's over. No one seriously believes it anymore. It has no public support, not here, not in the UK, not throughout the West. It never really had the public support outside of the West. It was really weird. And our grandchildren are going to look back on this time, and they are at best case scenario for us, they're going to say, man, that was a really weird thing you guys all did when you like chopped up people and pretended they were the opposite sex. Worst case and more likely scenario, they're going to condemn us for tolerating this because this ideology has ruined many, many lives, including the lives of children who did not have the ability to consent to this kind of thing and who had it foisted upon them by perverted and ignorant parents and doctors and teachers. And we're going to look bad. Those of us who stood against it, I suppose, will look better. But what I'm saying is our generation is going to look really, really bad for this. You heard it from the UK Supreme Court. Now, speaking of international affairs, you know the story of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, a Democrat who had his house burned in part by an arsonist. People didn't know what the motive was. Some of us suspected, but we weren't sure. And we didn't know the politics of the alleged arsonist who burned it down. Well, now we know. And it's always the ones you most expect. This guy, the person who's been arrested and is being charged with this crime, attacked Shapiro because of, quote, what he, Shapiro, wants to do to the Palestinian people, according to a search warrant signed by the Pennsylvania State Police. The guy's name, I usually don't say, I won't say a full name on the show, or I'll try not to, of a criminal like this, but I do have to say his last name. His last name's Bomber. The guy who set fire to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, his name's Bomber, which reminds me of an old principle, nomen est omen. The name is a sign. Sometimes, all nature is but art unknown to thee. Nomen est omen here. Bomber, who's not a kid, by the way, he's 38 years old. He, according to one of the warrants, targeted Shapiro, quote, based upon perceived injustices to the people of Palestine. Now, you got to ask, what did Shapiro do to the people of Palestine? Shapiro is a governor of a state. Last I checked, Pennsylvania doesn't have a foreign policy. Last I checked, Pennsylvania is not supplying the state of Israel with bombs. Last I checked, Pennsylvania is not talking about displacing people in Gaza. The federal government might do that, but why Shapiro? I think it might have something to do with the fact that his last name is Shapiro, if I had to guess. Same reason that this guy was picked over to be Kamala Harris's running mate, even though he would have been a much better running mate than Tim Walz, because he's a Jew. And he's focused on the Palestinian people here, this Bomber, and he says this Jew is responsible. Okay, well, you get this stuff on the left, fringe left, and sometimes mainstream left, but you do also get it on the fringe right. There are people who just really, really hate the Jews, and who, even beyond that, who occasionally will engage in some kind of political violence. The Oklahoma City bombing or something like that. That happens. The right condemns it, unlike the left, which embraces political violence. But the broad right condemns it, but still it could happen. So you say, all right, well, this guy, he was concerned about, the Palestinian state, such as it is, or, was he on the left or the right? Well, according to news reports, this guy, Bomber, is a self-described Marxist. According to DailyWire reporting, he had a storage unit in Swatara Township with stickers of Che Guevara all over a toolbox. So it seems pretty firmly established that the man alleged to have committed this crime is on the left. According to Pam Bondi, the AG, this defendant allegedly said that when he burned down the mansion, if he were able to get inside, he had a hammer that he was going to use to bash in the brains of Josh Shapiro. This is a man very clearly of the left, which means that this news story is going to disappear. That's pretty much it. If they could have said it's a far-right skinhead, neo-Nazi, if in any way you could plausibly place this guy on the right, this would have been international news for months and might have been the basis to impeach Trump again. I mean, they got to impeach him again, don't they? But because he's on the left, and very clearly on the left, this episode of this show might be the very last time you ever hear about this story. Now, speaking of men with complicated political views, the Health and Human Services Secretary, Bobby Kennedy, has determined that he is going to take on any potential link between toxins and autism. This, as there is a lot of confusion over whether or not Kennedy, as HHS Secretary, will investigate vaccines, will change vaccine policy, will continue to pursue links between vaccines and autism, potentially, the kind of links that Kennedy has been alleging for his whole career. We will get to that, but we won't get to it today because today is Maundy Thursday. First of all, my show is done. The time is up, for the hoi polloi at least. For the membrum segmentum, the chem de lachem, you will get to join in the member block, where we will have on one of the great guests of this show, a true fan favorite, and a faithful favorite, a favorite of the faithful. That would be His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron. The show continues now. You do not want to miss it. You do not want to miss the debunking of so many lies about Easter as we enter the Triduum. Become a member. Use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.